Good evening, everyone. By now, I think you all know that we've directly hit Iran with three bombs, bunker busters, and three strategic nuclear sites. If you listen to my commentary and my political reactions, you know I was vehemently opposed to America even getting directly involved in this war. Um, However, we got to keep it in perspective. So I'll have something to show you my perspective because I could be in opposition of what the president has done and decided to do. Because if I had to do it all over again, I'd still vote against the radical far left ideology continuing to engulf our country into a whole bunch of debauchery and all kinds of bullshit. So there is some merit to taking out um, the nuclear capabilities that Iran has. However, we know it can't just stop there, right? With the arrogant people who are in charge as male leadership everywhere, with big egos, nobody surrenders hardly, right? Without some severe hardship. And there's going to be retaliations. And we need to brace ourselves for that, because I don't think it's going to be as clean as Trump came out and think it is. So, we're talking about a state-sponsored terrorist organization as a country, and they're not going to take this line down. So, but here's the perspective about the mega or the Trump supporters. They're not all mega, but they support Trump, but they also understand what's going on, Harmonize. So they also understand that we have to have diversity of thought. And I have this one young Republican conservative that I want to share with you his perspective. He kind of puts it in the right frame of mind about how the folks who support, Trump are different than the ideology of the people on the left, where you only have hive mind and you could only think one way, or else you're not a part of the team. On the conservative side, there's a lot of so-called mega supporters who are actually against this bombing. I mean, if I actually agree with MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene, that we shouldn't do any of this stuff, but it's done, and now we're in the mix. So what's next? Is you think she's going to leave the party and become a Democrat? Hell no, she's not going to do that. She's just going to be mad and move on. And like me, I'm not like her because I don't believe in a lot of her ideologies, but I'm not going back to on the plantation just because Trump did something I didn't like. So here's this young guy who's going to put some of this stuff into perspective. I appreciate it's like almost out of the mouths of babes, but he ain't that young, but still. It's a good perspective.
In MAGA world over which course of action Donald Trump should take regarding Iran. And the left, desperate for any kind of vitality, of course, have seized on this debate, calling it another MAGA civil war. Because on the left, only one kind of thinking is permissible, and if you stray even slightly from the party lines, you're exiled expeditiously. And unfortunately, some in MAGA world seem to have succumbed to this kind of thinking, and are starting to point fingers and label some not America first because they have a different opinion. But I'm here to remind everybody that this healthy discourse is a strength. It's good. It's what allows the MAGA movement to be so widespread and popular. And we should appreciate and embrace this reality so we don't fall into the same trap as the left, where only one way of thinking is acceptable. As always, like the video and subscribe to the channel, but I want to start by showing you something that inspired me to make this video in the first place. So what you're looking at right now is a graphic that shows the diversity of thought on each side of the political spectrum. As you can see, the blue, which represents the Democrats, is extremely small and clustered together, representing a very minimal divergence of thoughts and viewpoints. While on the right, it is vast and diverse. And this graphic is so beautiful, it's so positive, and it really nails home why Donald Trump's movement was so popular amongst so many different types of people. So many ex-Democrats left the party, supported and voted for Donald Trump. And this
let's go back to that graphic for a second, just for illustrative purposes. This makes sense. I don't know who came up with this. I got to find out where his source is for this because I'd like to read the whole thing. But the truth of the matter is, if you think that, a black person who just got off the plantation, recently and voted for Trump has the same complete mindset as a red hat mega supporter, you got to be out of your mind. Maybe it's just a few things on Trump's list that black person liked, whereas on the list there was 10 things that the actual mega people liked, but they still voted for Trump. But it's really true that if you listen to how the left, compartmentalize this thing, everybody has to be in lockstep with their bullshit. You got to be for mutilation of children. You got to be for transgender rights. You got to be for unfettered immigration. You got to be for defunding the police. You got to be for, no cash bail. You got to be for all kinds of stuff that makes society weak. You got to be for DEI and all of that other kind of bullshit. Everybody has to be on that same plantation thinking, or else you're not part of the clique. That's not the same thing on the right.
While on the right, it is vast and diverse. And this graphic is so beautiful, it's so positive, and it really nails home why Donald Trump's movement was so popular amongst so many different types of people. So many ex-Democrats left the party, supported and voted for Donald Trump. And this graphic is a representation of that. The left's ideology is totalitarian. One of their primary tenets is you must disregard biological reality and accept at the altar of wokeness that a man can become a woman. So once you exit the confines of reality and accept that premise, you must subsequently accept every position after that with no question, with no explanation, with no ability for discourse, because you've already accepted the most wild, delusional premise as truth. Conversely, on the right, we deal in reality. And when you deal in reality, you understand that people are going to have a difference of opinion. We had arguments over H-1B visas. We have disagreements on deportations. Should we get rid of everybody? Should we be a little bit more selective? We have disagreements on the big, beautiful bill. Is it good the way it is? Does it need more cuts? And now we're having a disagreement on an extremely consequential decision, which is, should we get militarily involved in the Iran-Israel conflict to prevent Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon? This healthy disagreement is the strength of MAGA. This is what will allow it to continue to be a widespread populist movement. We can't fall into the trap of the left, where you have to have a certain specific set of beliefs in which we attack anybody who disagrees with us and label them as not being America first. In this video, I'm going to show you tons of information as to why this decision on whether we should strike Iran is extremely complicated. And each side, the side that thinks we should do it and the side that thinks we shouldn't do it, both have merit. But by the end of this video, I want you to be secure in knowing that Donald Trump, the person we elected, because we trust his judgment in high pressure, high stakes moments like this, will make the decision he truly thinks is best.
Well, even when I'm just saying that, it's hard for me to say, yeah, I trust him unconditionally like that. But I hope that he has the kind of advisors around him to help him guide to that decision. Now, I do believe that he's America first, and whatever decision he made, and we know he made it already, he thinks that that's in the best interest of the country to make sure Iran doesn't have bombs, but it's not going to nuclear bomb, but that's not going to stop the bloodshed just in and itself. At least, we're going to have to be on guard against it. But he's going to show, this gentleman is going to show some examples of pros and cons to actual warfare.
Here's a clip from Tucker Carlson interviewing Ted Cruz that sparked this whole MAGA Civil War conversation.
How many people live in Iran, by the way?
I don't know the population.
At all?
No, I don't know the population.
You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple?
How many people live in Iran?
92 million.
Okay. Yeah,
How could you not know that?
I don't sit around memorizing population tables.
Well, it's kind of relevant because you're calling for the overthrow of the government.
Why is it relevant whether it's,
because
it's 90 million or 80 million or 100 million? Why is that
because if
relevant?
you don't know anything about the country...
I didn't say I don't know anything about
Okay, what's the ethnic mix of Iran?
They are Persians and
What percent?
predominantly Shia. Okay, this is
no,
cute.
it's not
Okay.
even... You don't know anything about Iran. So
Okay,
actually
I
the
am not
country...
the Tucker Carlson
but
expert on Iran.
You're a
who
senator
says-
who's calling
Okay,
for the
you're the one who
overthrow of the
claims-
government.
You're the one who claims
about the country.
No, you don't know anything about the country. You're the one who claims they're not trying to murder Donald Trump.
No,
You're the
I'm
one
not saying that.
who can't figure out
I'm
if it was a
saying
good
you
idea to
don't
kill
believe-
General Soleimani, and
you
you said
don't
it was bad.
believe-
Now, in this interview, both men make compelling arguments. Tucker, for why we should not get involved. Ted Cruz, for why we ought to get involved. But the problem that sparked this whole controversy was Tucker has a snarky and condescending way about him, to where Ted Cruz couldn't answer specific questions that, in my opinion, are irrelevant to the decision, but from Tucker's perspective are important to him because he wants to genuinely make sure that the people encouraging this decision have thought this all the way through. If we use the bunker busters and it doesn't go perfectly, then what? If we orchestrate a regime change and it doesn't go how we planned, then what? What we're seeing here is a perfect illustration.
Well, listen, the truth of the matter is there has got to be, this is the problem. What the bunker busters did was have to take us to the next step. As long as that Ayatollah is there, still leading the charge, whether they got their nuclear capabilities or even close to it, is not going to stop them from being a dangerous country. So, so really the next step is to go ahead and do regime change. And that's wherein lies the rub. Who do you put in? I mean, there's going to be a certain nationalistic uprising in Iran when they get attacked from the outside, whether they agree with the Ayatollah or not. There's going to be, tens of millions of them who are not going to appreciate being violated the way that happened. So there's just no way they're going to go quiet into that night. It's just not going to happen.
Of the moments that we elected Donald Trump for, where each decision has pros and cons, but a decision must be made. And not making a decision is also a big decision. And whatever Donald Trump decides is the best course of action, there is one thing everybody has to admit. He thought this through, and he did everything humanly possible within his power to avoid military conflict. Let's hear from the man himself.
20 years ago, you were skeptical of a Republican administration that attacked a Middle East country on the idea of questionable intelligence of weapons of mass destruction. How is this moment different with Iran?
Well, there were no weapons of mass destruction. I never thought there were. And that was somewhat pre-nuclear. There was a nuclear age, but nothing like it is today. And it looked like I'm right about the material that they've gathered already. It's a tremendous amount of material. And I think within a matter of weeks, or certainly within a matter of months, they're going to be able to have a nuclear weapon. We can't let that happen.
Now, again, what we should be so proud about with our diverging viewpoints on the right is they encompass all possible scenarios. Either you're for war or you're against war. And those are the only possible two scenarios, even for Democrats. There has to be room in our party for both sets of opinions. And Democrats have been more or less silent on us getting involved in this conflict because they don't know which side to pick until Trump decides and they can pick the opposite side. And there will inevitably be some Democrats who agree with whatever Trump decides to do. And if that ends up being the opposite of what the Democrats support, it's going to cause more Democrats to leave the party and come join the MAGA movement. And we have to be open and accepting to people who may agree with us on some things and may disagree with us on other things. What Donald Trump understands here that I think the Ted Cruzes and the ones who are very steadfast in supporting us getting involved in the conflict miss is an agreement is really the only way we can ensure Iran stops developing their nuclear program. We can bomb whatever we want to smithereens, but they can set up shop elsewhere. We can sanction them into obscurity, but all that does is harm the 90 million people who live there and allow an anti-American sentiment to grow. So even if we do attempt a regime change, if it's not done properly, we just allow a new Islamic extremist government who hates America and has the same ambitions to destroy us to come to power. This is why Trump is a peace president. He fundamentally understands business. You can apply pressure by bombing things, but you can't fundamentally guarantee you will get what you want by bombing things. And while
Oh yeah. I forgot to thank you. I was looking at this other thing. I keep, and I sounded good too. But I was just saying, I even with the bombs flying, I'm just saying, listen, I'd pick that over going back to the debaucherous side or the other side. That's what I was saying. But I'm going to the next video, and let me see the next video about him destroying.
it is official, the United States has dropped bunker buster bombs on 3 Iranian nuclear facilities. I'm not going to string you guys along. Let's jump right into it and read the post from Donald Trump 30 minutes ago announcing these attacks. He writes, "We have completed our very successful attack on 3 nuclear sites in Iran, including Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. All planes are now outside of Iran airspace. A full payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site, Fordow. All planes are safely on the way home. Congratulations to our great American warriors. There is not another military in the world that could have done this. Now is the time for peace. Thank you for your attention to this matter." He follows that up with another post saying, "I will be giving an address to the nation at 10 p.m. at the White House regarding our very successful military operation in Iran. This is a historic moment for the United States of America, Israel, and the world. Iran must now agree to end this war. Thank you." Now, I'll be live streaming his address to the nation, so make sure you guys tune in around then. But let's take a look at some of the responses across X regarding this news. Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania says, "As long as I've maintained this was the correct move by POTUS. Iran is the world's leading sponsor of terrorism and cannot have nuclear capabilities. I'm grateful for and salute the finest military in the world." And he is 100% right. Whether you agree or disagree with Donald Trump doing this, we should all take a moment and be thankful no soldiers were injured and this was a successful operation. But obviously not everybody is agreeing with this decision, even Republicans. Thomas Massey posts, "This is not constitutional." Now, I don't claim to be a constitutional scholar, but the powers of declaring war are with Congress. However, the president is the commander-in-chief and does have the authority to act decisively and green-light military operations. This is the same kind of absurdity that comes from the left when they say, Donald Trump can't declare that an invasion happened on the southern border. It has to be decided by judges. Well, if that's the case, what would happen if 10,000 Mexican troops crossed the border into the United States? Would the president be able to declare that an invasion, or would he have to get approval from 400 federal judges? We all know the president, as commander-in-chief, has the authority to direct the military. And we all know that selective strikes are not the same thing as a full-out declaration of war on another sovereign nation. Now, Thomas Massie has been very outspoken about Trump's big, beautiful bill, so it's kind of par for the course that he's taking this position. Charlie Kirk posts, with the weight of the world on his shoulders, President Trump acted for the betterment of humanity. For the next few hours, spare us the armchair quarterbacking and instead trust our commander-in-chief. And I'm in the same boat.
Well, you know, whether you want to do that or not, it's still, the truth of the matter is, it's still yet to be seen, because just those bombs flying doesn't mean that, you know, it's over, right? Maybe their nuclear capability has been hurt, but as long as the same leadership is there, you know, it's not over. So I'm going to just skip ahead a little bit, because Van Jones, a person who we might not really expect to say what he said, but let's take a listen to a guy who's a staunch Democrat liberal and what he thinks about what happened.
Definitely strike Iran.
He's buying himself some time in some room. I was also in the Holy Land very recently. I think progressives underestimate how dangerous Iran is. Iran is not a normal country. Normal countries don't blind women because they showed some hair. They don't empower little gangs and proxies to surround a country and fire rockets and rape people. So Iran, the two things are clear. The what, they cannot have a bomb, and the why, because they say death to America, death to Israel, and death to all the Jews. One of those should offend you if you're progressives. At least one should offend you. And so the question, though, is the who and the how. Is Israel going to take out this nuclear capacity by dropping people there who blow it up? Or is America going to take it out by dropping a bomb that blows it up? But the what and the why are clear, and I think progressives should get on board with that. We cannot have a nuclear-armed Iran. I was in the region. You were in the region. This is a very dangerous power that cannot get a nuclear weapon.
So
So that's really all you need to know. I mean, the president comes out later on with his address, and of course, you know, you can go see that, and it's just a short address on what he said. But the point really is, I was opposed to this thing wholeheartedly, and you know, and it is what it is now, right? And we're in the mix, whether we agree with it or not. You know, we're in the mix. We dropped bombs. The operation was success. They got the B-2s, came in, did what they had to do, and they got out safely out of airspace. Yes, Israel, you know, made the airspace safe because, you know, Iranians can't put nothing up in the air now. And so, but this is just the beginning. So I'm curious as to seeing what's next. Now, we got to be on high alert in America everywhere. But 20 million people came in our country. You could bet there's some sleeper cells here from Iran, and I'm sure they're gonna be turned on. You know, so should we be concerned about that? Absolutely. You know, absolutely. When we got, especially since they're hiding in mostly probably blue states, where the governor and the mayors of blue cities are actually traitorous against the federal government being able to ferret out illegals. So just think about the weak spots where the local law enforcement is forbidden to coordinate with ICE and federal enforcers to actually go get criminals out of these countries. So if I was going to hide a sleeper cell, I'd hide it in places like where that idiot Karen Bass is, or where the idiot Brandon Johnson is, or, you know, in Colorado, where those Trende Alagra already retook some of those same buildings that were liberated already. They're back in there. You know what I'm saying? With local blue state sanctuary cities, sacrificing their population for ideology. So there we go. I mean, we can't let those people back in office. And we got to have we got to have some cooperation so we can make sure that these sleeper cells, now that they're going to be activated, don't have unfettered access to the most vulnerable people and sites based on these sanctuary idiots that are across the country. So I can see it coming. I just can see it coming. So anyway, that's all I have for tonight. I mean, that's my rant. And forgive me for having a mic off. Hey, listen, it happens to Anton Daniels once in a while. So if he could do it, I could do it. Anyway, Payne, Marriage, Politics, and Sports. I'm over and out. Hey, thanks for coming by, Armin Ives and Catilia. I appreciate it. Take it easy.